With one of the best Major League Baseball World Series in years going the complete 7 games, WB on TV caught up with USA Today Sports Images photographer Thomas Shea, who tells us what it was like being a fan and a photographer of the Houston Astros throughout the entire 2017 playoffs and World Series. So, Thomas, it's a pleasure speaking with you. I know you've probably had a pretty busy, several weeks following the Astros through a great regular season and into the playoffs. Now, you do all the home games, is that right, as a photographer?
There is me and 2 other photographers who live in Houston who cover all the home games for the Houston Astros.
Very nice.
That's right.
So, and what percentage of the playoff games did you actually photograph?
I photographed 100% of the playoff games in Houston.
That's awesome. That has to be one of the coolest jobs ever, I would think.
Yeah, it has some perks. There's a lot of late nights. This is a part-time freelance job. So after working my full-time job and then going to shoot the Astros, it makes for a long day, but it's worth it now that we won the World Series.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. In the first World Series, of course, in Houston Astro history.
Yeah, it's great. Sports Illustrated predicted us in July to be the team, and we are.
Well, it's amazing, and you have such a great young team. I mean, if you're a sports fan, and I imagine you are, you probably wouldn't be doing the USA Today sports images. It has to be kind of a win-win because it's something you're getting paid for, and then something that's also pretty darn cool.
Yeah, you're getting paid for. You're at the World Series, but at the same time, you have to be very unbiased. You can't wear Astros gear. You can't ask for autographs. You have to treat this as a professional journalist.
Nice. Well, that makes sense. I mean, I guess that was one of the worst things as a kid. I wanted to be in media, and then as I got into media, and actually our home team up here is the Reds. Then you finally get on the field, and then you realize you can't ask for autographs, and you can't be a little kid, and you do have to be a pro. I guess that sort of just applies all over, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's part of the criteria of being a professional sports photographer.
No doubt. So when you're doing a game, like say you're doing a World Series game, how many pictures do you take throughout the course of the game? And I mean, I guess you probably start in warm-ups and you go through any type of a celebration after the game?
Yeah, it's a long day. I mean, on the American League Central Championship, we get there around 3 o'clock, start setting up the equipment, testing the cameras, making sure the Ethernet lines are working, making sure the editors have given us all our positions. And by the time we shoot the game, and by the time I was lucky enough to go into the locker room after they won the ACLS, and we're editing all those photos, I don't get home till about 3 in the morning.
Nice. So, and how many pictures would you say during the course of a game like that, and say the ALCS or the World Series, how busy is your camera? I mean, I would assume you take several thousand pictures.
Yeah, we take several thousand. When we get to the point of the playoffs, our cameras are plugged into the Ethernet. Normally during the season, we take pictures, we download the cards, we write captions, we tone the pictures, and we send it off. But during the playoffs, we have an editor there, and our camera's plugged into the Ethernet, and after we take the photograph, we select the picture and we send it directly to the editor that's either in the stadium or is based in Washington, D.C., and they'll write the captions and send it out. The photos usually on the internet, probably within 1 minute to 2 minutes, it's already out there for the world to see. I would say the game. I think it was Game 4, the one that went 11 innings. I looked later on and I shot something over like 5,000 pictures, and that includes everything from warm-up to fan features to details. And I probably sent about 100, and I think about 70 or so made the cut that day.
Wow.
And it was on the USA Today Sports Images website, which is a Gannett website. Our photos go out to any Gannett supporter, all the Gannett newspapers, all the Gannett websites, and then anyone who subscribes to US Today Sports Images.
Wow, that's awesome. And then, and to just be a part of any World Series is pretty amazing, but, this is widely being hailed as one of the best World Series in, a really long time. 7 games, two young teams and just a couple crazy finishes. I mean, that had to add a lot to the drama and excitement of what you were doing.
Yeah, it was really exciting. I photographed the White Sox Astros series in 2005 when they got swept by the White Sox, and that wasn't quite nearly as interesting. This one had a lot of ups and downs. People have asked me what is my favorite sports game I've ever photographed, and by far it is Game 4.
That's awesome.
It just went back and forth, back and forth. You think you have one picture, you send it, you're like, oh, this is the picture of the game. The next setting, there's a home run or a play at the plate, and something happens. Oh, this is the picture of the game, and then the next play, someone drops the ball. So it was just up and down, up and down. It turned my stomach a little bit, but it was very exciting, and I felt very fortunate to be able to cover that game.
Yeah, that's awesome, and it is amazing as a baseball fan. A lot of times you'll watch a game and a team gets a big lead or gets, even a 2 or 3 run lead and sort of seals the game. And in this World Series, like, nothing was safe. It just, no team really was ever out of it at any point.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking the two best teams. I mean, if Houston would have won 4 more games, they would have had the home field advantage. That's how close it was. But you're taking the two best teams in baseball, and they end up playing for, the series.
It's pretty amazing. And do you have a specific position that you usually are set up to take photographs, or does it vary for you during a baseball season?
Yeah, I mean, during the regular season, it varies. Sometimes I move around, but during the World Series, Major League Baseball runs the show, and they assign the positions. Now, out of our crew, there was a crew of 4 photographers, and we might switch positions. We had a position down low, outside the Astros, or outside. It's called outside first, meaning it's to the right of the home dugout. And then we had 2 high positions, one high 300 level on the first base side, another one on the away side, 300 level, and we also had a photographer all the way out in center field with a very strong telephoto 600, 800 millimeter lens covering it. And it would change from time to time. Some games I was up high, and some games I was assigned down low. I also one day was the pool photographer. They don't want a lot of photographers behind home plate, so for each game, different agencies responsible for photographing the pitchers in the first inning. So this last home game, I was the pool photographer to photograph the pitchers for all the wire agencies.
Oh, very cool. And for those people that may have caught this interview a little bit after the beginning, I'm talking to Thomas Shea, was a World Series photographer for Houston, and actually does the photography for USA Today Sports Images. So I'd say people have all over the country have probably seen a lot of your work, and in a lot of the pictures probably that they've seen through the playoffs with Houston probably has your name attached. So again, Thomas Shea, World Series photographer here with WBON TV. What do you think, Thomas, that it meant for the city of Houston after Hurricane Harvey to win the World Series? I know it's it can't make it right, but at the same time to bring a little joy to the city.
Yeah, it just, I have a lot of friends that lost everything. And of course, winning the World Series is not going to, repair their home, but it's going to bring a little smiles and happiness in their lives. Carlos Carrera, who's from Puerto Rico, and Beltran is from Puerto Rico, and their families were infected by the hurricane. Also, it brought the whole city together. It brought the Astros together. It was something good that Houston really needed at this time.
Very nice. Well, Thomas, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to help us out with this, and thanks for your World Series insight. Congrats to you and the city of Houston on the big World Series championship. That's going to be something I'd say that you guys will be celebrating for quite a while.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
All right, Thomas, thank you. For more great stories like these, go to WBONTV.com. I'm Trizdon Reynolds.